Do you guys know who I am? I'm not a dirty cop.
Mr. the Madness, I'm living.
The difference, right? When someone is in the right and they are doing things, you know, they're not full of shit, then they are gonna like, oh, awesome, cool.
Yeah.
But, you know, they didn't obviously, yeah, they thought that you were just going to give up. So for the sake of time, really quick, let's speed it up. So JC Tatum, the guy that pulled you over with, like you said, Bruce.
Tatum didn't pull me over.
Oh, Huffaker. Huffaker pulled you over with
Bruce Smith.
And then JC Tatum was another Rohnert Park police officer that was friends with Huffaker, and they had been running this illegal interdiction robbery.
He was the sergeant.
Yeah. So they had been doing that for a long time, right? And I know that you told me that they had conducted a nut through evidence and discovery and everything, 9 additional stops on top of that in Mendocino County itself, where they robbed other people of their weed.
Correct.
And then the Ann Borges and
Chris Gurr and Will Knight.
Yeah, so those are 3 separate individuals too that have also came forward because they had legitimate grows.
Correct. They were licensed grows
that were hit by who?
CDFW Steve White and Comet Bruce Smith.
Okay, so they testified that those guys hit their property, all different people, and just we're not going to get into all the details, like I said, time wise, but took their weed, and there was some money that was taken as well from those one or more of those individuals.
Correct.
And so it's funny that people think that this whole Rico thing is all about you, and you were just making all this shit up or whatever. But there are multiple people that you didn't even know prior to this that got the courage to come forward to talk about their own personal experiences too. And based on, since I've been doing YouTube, that's been a common theme that I've experienced. People that have reached out to me that have told me things like with Derek Hendry, especially with Derek Hendry, you know, how he used to rob them and, you know, sexually assault a lot of his female informants, especially. A lot of stuff with guys that work at the sheriff's office as well, especially JD Comer. How I had a lot of people tell me that he was pulling girls over and exchanging sexual favors and, you know, to let them go. But it's that fear. And I don't know why they're scared of these guys, like these guys, like, you know what I mean? But they are. There's that fear element that think that, you know, they're going to get killed or something, you know, terrible is going to happen. So like the attorney saying, like, you know, you're a good person to do it, to come forward, or the FBI, whoever it was, that's what prompted those other people to do it. So I know that there's a lot of people. I also talked to that one guy who was super cool, that lived in Lake County. When I was running for sheriff, that knows you as well. That had been ripped off too. By guys over there. So
actually, that guy, we're not going to mention his name.
No, yeah.
He just spoke to the FBI last week.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you told me he was going to do that.
Yeah, he just spoke to the FBI last week, and what's unique about his incident is 8 of the same people that are named in the Burgess, Gurr, Will Knight raids were on his property over in Lake County.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Weird.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay. So in terms of JC Tatum and Huffaker, they proved that they've been doing that for a long time. They're,
so Tatum pled guilty.
Tatum pled guilty to everything that he did.
To 3 charges, 3 felonies, extortion under the color of law, tax evasion, and falsifying a report in a federal investigation.
Okay. And then Huffaker,
he's indicted on 3 counts of extortion, and right now he's gone through 4 different attorneys. The U.S. Attorney's Office just last week presented more evidence against him. He's on his 4th attorney, and they have a hearing on September the 7th. He went on for about 6 months, the beginning part of this year, with he kept having hearings set up for change of plea hearings. In other words, to change his plea to guilty. Yeah. Just an assumption on my part, but most likely he wasn't getting the deal that he wanted, so it wasn't working to his favor.
Oh yeah.
And so he switched attorneys now again.
Well, and what's going to happen is both of these dudes, in my opinion, are going to end up snitching.
Well, they've already identified Tatum is testifying against Huffaker if he goes to trial.
That's right.
We already know Tatum made a deal.
In terms of named individuals that are brought into the Rico case that work for the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office, or did work for the Mendocino County, who are those people?
It's Bruce Smith.
Yeah.
Tom Allman is a co-conspirator. Randy Johnson is a co-conspirator.
What about Jason Cadillo? Didn't he?
Jason Cadillo is the first law enforcement or sworn officer to be involved in my cover-up. So I called Christina Luna on December the 8th. On December the 12th, 4 days later, which was a Tuesday, she emailed Jason Cadillo that this guy Zeke Flatten called in Friday. He's really upset. He says he got robbed down by Hopland by some police officers. Cadillo replied to her saying that he called me and left a message. Well, I never got a phone call. I never got a voicemail, and I have my phone records that no phone calls came in.
Yeah. And then how's Tom Allman involved?
Tom Allman is involved because, one, he has the obligation to investigate my incident. But second, and most important, is he was the one that personally called Tatum to write the press release. Once we got further down the road in litigation, the county's response was that they didn't take any action because they thought it was a legitimate police stop. Well, there's no way that the sheriff or the DA Eister, could think that it was a legitimate police stop when it was a Rohnert Park officer that identified as being the ones in the press release as stopping me.
Because it's not in their jurisdiction. And something like that, like, you know, I used to do trainings out of town a lot, canine training and stuff like that when I worked for the sheriff's office, and that was one of my first questions too when I was brand new. Like, hey, what do I do if I'm driving a cop car out of county, like Sonoma County from Mendocino County, and I see something? Am I supposed to act on it? And basically what I was always told is only if it's something very, very, very egregious that you should intervene for safety reasons or whatever.
Yeah,
but
somebody's going to get hurt. But
even if that is the case, and I stop somebody, which at the same time, we're not going to have radio capabilities back to, you know, the dispatch of Mendocino County. So you're going to have to get on the phone with whatever's dispatch is in that jurisdiction, tell them what you're doing, and then you're going to have somebody from that agency, whatever jurisdiction that is, show up to take over. So for you, you know, getting stopped and pulled over and they're like, oh, this guy has 3 pounds, you know, they wouldn't just take it. They would call the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office and say, hey, can you come deal with this? Or CHP or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
that's how that works. Okay, so it went to court already. A federal judge squashed it, and the case and to from going forward, but that was going to give you access to these co-conspirators, you know, Bruce Smith and Tom Allman and all these people, to their bank account records and cell phone information and all that stuff during that time frame, especially to add evidence. But the federal judge said, like, okay, there's not enough for us to move forward with that for me to grant that, based on, you know, what we discussed earlier. I still have my own opinion on that, but she said nope, it's done. But then there's a misconception. That's why a lot of people have asked me to address this, because they think that it's done and it's completely over with, right? So what are you guys doing going forward now?
So we're probably about 5 months into the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. It's roughly a 23-month process. So we've got about 19 more months to that court will make its decision. We have 7 different items that we believe that the district court made an error on. Any one of those 7 items will bring us back to court and get us into discovery.
Well, because like you told me, the federal judge that squashed it, she didn't follow case law and she didn't follow the evidence.
Correct.
Which is why, in my opinion, and I know that based on our conversation earlier, you might not agree with this anymore, but I still don't trust anybody, like I said, and I still think that a judge that doesn't follow case law, you know, even if there's other stuff going on, still to throw it completely out or evidence, it's shady to me. You know what I'm saying?
The other side of it is also your burden of proof is a lot less than. It just has to be. It just has to be plausible that what we're alleging could happen. Yeah. And by the simple fact that Tom Allman called J.C. Tatum to write the press release, and that a Rohnert Park officer was involved stopping me in Mendocino County outside of his jurisdiction. Yeah. And that Tatum and Huffaker had already been indicted. Yeah. That should be enough right there to sit there and say this Rico conspiracy is plausible at that point.
So what is Steve White and, you know, Bruce Smith? I mean, obviously they denied any and all allegations, you know, and I know that Bruce who I don't really know. I know who he is. You know, I worked with him maybe once or twice here and there, but I don't have anything personal to say about him at all, and I'm not going to. But I know that he did, you know, he already gave like some sort of dissertation or something, stating that he was, because he is employed with the Lake County District Attorney's Office as an investigator, and he has been because he retired from the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office. But you know, he said, what did he say, that he was at the range qualifying for his DA investigator position at the time that your robbery took place, correct?
I've heard 3 different explanations of where he was that day, and all of them are different. One of them was that he was at the range that day with Derek Hendry.
Yeah.
That's a good alibi. Derek Hendry's a great alibi there.
Yeah, definitely.
I heard from another Mendocino Sheriff's Deputy, Tim Goss. He knew personally that Bruce Smith was off for the entire month before he retired. And then once I talked to Goss later and brought that back up, he just said, "Oh no, I made all that up." And then there is the official version, and the official version from the court records, that Bruce Smith was employed with the Lake County District Attorney's Office on the day that I was robbed. That he happened to start the day before, on December the 4th, but none of his records match up. If you go do PRAs to Mendocino Sheriff's Department asking about Bruce Smith's records of when he retired, his retirement date, and then you overlay those with his records of when he started with the Lake County DA's office, none of those records match up. Matter of fact, his reporting of him starting at Lake County Sheriff's Department wasn't reported until 4 days after my robbery.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then he just happened to retire the Saturday before I was robbed and started working for Lake County the day before I was robbed.
Yeah, to be devil's advocate for a second, I can't think of any reason why Randy Johnson or any of those guys would go out of their way to cover for Bruce, because I personally know that none of those guys got along. Like, Bruce did not like those guys. Well, those dudes are bags of shit. So, you know, and that was part of the reason why he left as well. So it's just funny. I mean, obviously Randy Johnson's a fucking liar and a criminal himself, but that's just something that is interesting. But yeah, there's a lot of, you know, coincidences there, I would say. So it's going to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and all they have to do is go off of evidence and case law, and then that will grant you the ability to move forward with the Rico case, which, like I said, it allows you to obtain all that personal information on the co-conspirators, Tom Allman, Randy Johnson, all those guys, Steve White, and Bruce Smith.
And also David Eister.
And Dave Eister. Wait, how's Dave Eister involved again?